Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. As more and more people join in, we're just going to wait to give everybody just a few minutes to get in here and make sure everybody who wants to be here is here before we kick this off. So just give it about a minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So thanks, everyone, and just sit tight for a sec. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to the webinar today. My name is Ryan, and I am going to be your moderator for the seminar. But I do have the privilege of being joined today by Dr. Ann with the Audiology offices, as well as Don Schum, who is the head of Audiology here at Whisper. So before we go ahead and get into the material, I do have a few housekeeping items that I would like to cover with everyone. So first off, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation today. So I encourage everybody to ask questions as they come up. And to do so, you're going to find a Q&A button there at the bottom of your Zoom interface. Feel free to pull that up, type in your questions as they come up, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Dr. Ann to introduce herself.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Audiology offices and our seminar. I am Dr. DePaolo Wietsma. I am the owner and audiologist. In addition to myself, our providers include Kim Stout and Janie Anderson. We provide audiology and hearing health care to patients in the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula with locations in Kilmarnock, Gloucester, and Warsaw, Virginia. In August, we celebrated 20 years of providing service to our community. Our referrals come from multiple sources, such as physicians, current patients, and self-referrals. I am very honored to have been voted the best audiology practice in the Eastern region of Virginia. All of our team members are committed to our mission, which is to provide professional, comprehensive care in a relaxed environment, and to provide effective solutions to each patient to meet their individual hearing needs. I am very excited to add the Whisper hearing system to our portfolio of products to our patients. I have been in this industry for a very long time, including 15 years working with a hearing aid manufacturer. So needless to say, I have worked with many hearing aids and many manufacturers. And over the years, we have had wonderful improvements in technology, but there is none that I have seen that meets the advanced technologies that are available with artificial intelligence in the Whisper system. What I am most impressed about with the Whisper system is that it was not developed by conventional hearing aid manufacturers, rather engineers and specialists in the field of artificial intelligence. I do feel that the opportunity to have periodic updates throughout the year and the constant learning that the system offers to the patient will grow and learn as the patient wears the hearing aid. There's not another hearing aid that I know that can offer these features. I do feel that the subscription plan, which includes no upfront cost and convenient monthly payments, I think this is a very nice option for patients to consider. especially those who may be on the fence as to whether they think they're ready for hearing aids. I started working with the Whisper system in August of this year. And my first patient was a teacher, a fourth grade teacher. She was getting hearing aids for the first time. So I wanted to explain to her both the conventional, traditional digital hearing aids and the model that included, as well as the Whisper hearing system with the benefits of artificial intelligence. She immediately wanted to try the cutting edge technology. And so she was fitted with the Whisper hearing system. When she returned in 2 weeks to try the conventional hearing aid system, she did not even want to go that route. She found that the Whisper hearing system provided crisp, clear conversation. Her voice was very pleasant, and she was able to understand speech and noise, especially in her busy fourth grade classroom. She found the use of the brain was not an inconvenience at all. She was very impressed with the technology and proceeded to go with the subscription plan. She was also very impressed to be the first patient in Virginia to be fit with the hearing instrument system. I have also been working with patients that are current hearing aid users. They are still in their trial mode, but results are very positive and they are showing improvement in speech and understanding. So I'm very excited. I want to get this seminar going. So I'm going to turn it over to Don now. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in today. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to present alongside Dr. Ann and to talk to you about the Whisper system. And give you a little bit of background on the company. Let me fill you in a little bit more. Whisper was started 4 years ago, and we've been in the marketplace for the past year. And we are a San Francisco-based company. And as Dr. Ann pointed out, we were started by a couple of gentlemen who came from the world of artificial intelligence. And they had been working with some of the big tech companies out in the Bay Area. And they wanted to go their own way and start their own company. And they were very interested in doing something with their knowledge and expertise in the field of artificial intelligence, but they wanted to do something serious. They wanted to do something meaningful and important. And they both happen to have members of their own family with hearing loss. And there's a lot of emerging research that was happening then a few years ago and continues to this day about how we could do a better job of dealing with the problems that so many people with hearing loss face, which is speech, understanding speech in noisier, more crowded places where there's a lot of different people talking. And they wanted to harness that power of some of the most advanced concepts in the world of artificial intelligence to really go and attack that problem that was felt to be a very much of an unmet need at the time and continues to be. And so they put together a company. And they brought a lot of thinking from outside of the field of audiology and hearing aid into the idea of starting a company. But they were also smart enough to realize that building a hearing aid is not an easy thing. That it's as an electronic device, as an acoustic device, you had to have expertise also. So they, along with bringing in their own people from outside of the industry, they also found people from inside the industry to also be part of the team to really help craft the way the product should be put together, the way that professionals like Dr. Ann and patients like yourselves need to be trained about the product and understand what the product's up to, and to make sure that they understand the ins and outs of working within the hearing aid field. So I've been an audiologist for well over 30 years, and I've been in the hearing aid field for over 25 years. And so I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to join the Whisper company because they were looking for some people from within the industry to help fill out their team. So myself and about a good dozen other people from outside the industry, from inside the industry, became part of the Whisper team to help us get the word out there and help bring a high level of care to patients. And we have been working with a variety of hearing care professionals from around the country, where we're looking for professionals who share our thoughts about bringing very high quality care to patients with very good technology. And of course, when we were looking in the area of Eastern Virginia, Dr. Ann, of course, was a very logical choice for us to pick because of her long-term commitment to what we do in this field. So that gives a little bit idea about who I am and who we're about. But let me talk more about what it is that we have created for all of you in order to help you do the best you can in a hearing world. Over the next 15-20 minutes, I want to talk about two aspects that make the Whisper hearing system very unique. The first is the fact that it is a learning system, meaning that it gets better over time. We have the ability, because of the way we've designed the product, the way we even think about the way we wanted to create a hearing aid, is that it is fundamentally a software-based product, meaning that we can update it over time. And I'll talk to you about how we do that and why we do it, most importantly. The second thing that we'll talk about is how we've harnessed one particular very advanced part of the world of artificial intelligence to go after that big problem that we know that many of you face, which is the idea of when you're in these challenging environments with multiple sources of noise and you're trying to enjoy yourself, you're trying to interact with loved ones, or you're trying to interact with work colleagues, you're trying to do your job, you're trying to live your life, and you feel limited because of your hearing. We know that that's probably the number one issue for nearly everybody who's dealt with hearing loss. Even people who have been fit with excellent technology over the years, they still struggle in those areas. And we wanted to move the bar significantly in that area by bringing the power of artificial intelligence to bear. So let's go ahead and get started into some more of the details. The idea of somebody making the decision to do something about their hearing loss, sometimes it's not an easy decision to make. We know that most adults who acquire hearing loss gradually over the years will go through a period where they start to realize that they're probably dealing with hearing loss. It might not be really obvious at first, but eventually it becomes obvious to them. And there becomes a point in time when you start thinking, should I do something about it? Do I want to do something about it? I hear good things about hearing aids. I hear bad things about hearing aids. I don't know if I want to go forward. And so this is a process that a lot of people go for. But once a person gets to the point of making the decision to do something about hearing loss, and I know within the audience of you folks who are listening, I know some of you already have been fit with hearing aids, and so you may have gone through that process in the past. Others of you might just be thinking about doing something about hearing loss, and you thought that this would be a good opportunity to learn a little bit more. But when a person gets to the point where they make that decision to make that step forward, there's usually the idea that as long as I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I want to get very good technology, and I want to work with very smart, intelligent, caring people in order to do that. And that's two very important things to think about. But the third thing is that people want to make sure that they, if at all possible, can be kept up to date. In other words, if something gets better and better over time, you would like to get updated. For example, if you have to take a particular pharmaceutical for a medical condition, and at the time you get diagnosed with that condition and you talk to your physician, you end up starting to take one sort of treatment. But if something else comes on the market that is better, maybe lower side effects or something like that, you can talk to your doctor, and your physician might very well say, yeah, why don't we change your prescription to this, because it should be more effective, it should be easier on you, less side effects, things like that. You can be kept up to date because there's not a long-term commitment. The problem with the hearing aid field, at least traditionally, is when you buy a hearing aid at a certain point in time, it can be an absolute excellent hearing aid, totally state of the art, but it's the same hearing aid as it is today as it is a year down the road and 2 years down the road and 5 years down the road. And most people keep hearing aids somewhere between 4 and 6 years before they get a new hearing aid. And although, as I said, it could be an excellent hearing aid on the day you get it, by the time you decide to get your next set, there probably has been a performance gap created, meaning that what you are dealing with the day before you get your new set of hearing aids is a few years out of date. And in the hearing aid industry, and like I said, I've been in the hearing aid industry for over 25 years, we always just assume that's the way it had to be. You built a hearing aid and you made it as good as you possibly could, and you just knew that a patient who got it today was going to be very well served, but they're not going to get the very best thing they can get, a few years down the road unless they buy a new set of hearing aids. And when Whisper was put together as a company, that idea, that shortfall was something that they absolutely did not want to see continue. And so the idea was that let's create a product that can get better over time. And the thing about it is modern products do that all the time. For example, if on your iPhone or on your Android phone, you can get when you buy that new phone, there's a certain set of hardware that you're getting, right? You're getting the phone, it's got a camera, it's got buttons on it, things like that. But it also has processing power on the inside that you can tap into by the software you put on the phone. So if you load apps on your phone, you are taking advantage of that software that's on the phone. And you can do anything you want with apps throughout the lifespan that hardware lasts. So if you want to put on a new weather app because you don't like the way one weather app, displays information and you find something that's better. If you decide that you're going to kind of get your sports news from one source instead of another, you can change your app. You can put on photo apps if you want to play with if you get really interested in, enhancing your photos and make them look great. You can do a lot of different things, and the quality of the phone, the benefits the phone brings to you can grow with you as your needs and your interests change because it's a software-based product. More recently, even televisions have gone this direction, right? In the old days, old days, like when I was a little kid, you had 3 stations and maybe PBS if you can kind of bring it in, and that was it. And then we moved to cable, and you had 500 stations, and you couldn't find something to watch, sort of thing. But what has really turned the corner recently with smart TVs, for example, is that you can put different apps on your TV. You can put the Netflix app or the Hulu app or the CBS Sports app or whatever you want to put on the phone or on your television. And your television can grow and change with you as your needs and interests change because it's a software-based consumer electronic. And that is the concept behind Whisper, is that we wanted to create a software-based approach that whoop, hang on one second. I'm still here. Ryan, am I still online?
Yes, you definitely are.
Okay, I got my slides all of a sudden stopped advancing, so I was afraid I lost. Okay, now I'm back to the story. So when we created Whisper, we created a software-based product that was designed to get better over time. And the way we end up doing that with Whisper is throughout the lifespan of the hardware of the product, 2-3 times a year at least, we will provide upgrades to the software on the product so that we will send out new functionality in the product that can be loaded down into the product so the product is getting better all the time to bring the very best ideas that we have about signal processing and solving the problems that patients like yourselves run into to bring to the next level and to the next level of hopefully of performance for the product. As I said earlier, we've been in the marketplace for almost a year now. We put our first products in the marketplace in mid-October last year. And in this first year in the marketplace, we are just about to release our third major upgrade. It is actually coming starting next week, plus some other minor adjustments that happen in between those major upgrades. And so during this first year, we have created basically 3 new versions of the hearing aid for patients who got it. And so if somebody bought a hearing aid back a year ago, mid-October of last year, if they bought a more traditionally structured hearing aid, they would have the exact same hearing aid today. If they had gotten a Whisper product, they're just about to get their 4th version of that product, the original product plus 3 upgrades to it. And that is a very different concept within the field of hearing aid technology. And again, it's a concept that's designed to really make sure that you as a user are being kept up to the very most advanced performance that we can hopefully achieve for you. The other thing that was very important when we founded the company was the idea of using artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is all over everyday life. It's in so many different consumer electronic products that you use. If you talk into your phone, to ask Siri a question or to find a local restaurant or whatever it is that you might talk to your phone about, that is all driven by artificial intelligence. If you have a smart thermostat in your home, if you do any shopping online, especially with a place like Amazon or something like that, so much about the way they function is based on artificial intelligence. So there's everyday examples of the way artificial intelligence is part of everyday life. But there are different parts of the world of artificial intelligence. And one very highly sophisticated and very specialized part of the world of artificial intelligence is something called machine learning. And machine learning is a part of everyday life, but in ways that you might not realize. For example, machine learning is a very big part of the world of medical diagnosis, because they use that as a way of taking a tremendous amount of data from patients and from providers all around the world to try to crunch that data to find new and better treatment options for patients. And basically they're learning through being able to look at many different examples of a particular condition to improve the quality of the diagnosis and the quality of the treatment. You use machine learning when you have a lot of data, but you're not sure what the data is telling you. Machine learning is a type of artificial intelligence that's very good at taking very large amounts of data and finding important parts in that data that can lead to a better outcome. Another example of machine learning that gets used every day is credit card fraud protection, meaning that if many of you have received that text or that phone call from your credit card company to say, hey, you wouldn't happen to be in Pocatello, Idaho today at a Walmart, and you'll say, no, I'm not. Oh, that's good, because we just put a temporary block on your credit card because we noticed that your card was being used to buy items in a Walmart in Pocatello, Idaho, and that didn't make sense to us. Our algorithm, which is a machine learning solution, flagged this as something that looked suspicious, and indeed it was suspicious. And don't worry, we have protected your financial well-being, but they were able to identify a pattern of use of your card that was outside of your norm, and they were able to do it in real time. And when you imagine the millions and millions of different transactions that are occurring every day, and to be able to identify patterns of fraudulent behavior in real time, that's the power of something like machine learning. The way we use machine learning in the Whisper system is to take all that detail of sound that occurs when you're especially when you're in a noisier environment, and search through that data to find the patterns that define the speech signal and separate out that speech signal from background noise. And so it is a problem that we believe can be best solved if you have the ability to take a tremendous amount of data and very, very rapidly sort through that data and find the good stuff and get rid of the bad stuff. That's at the core, the way we use machine learning in the whisper hearing system. And it's because once you put sound into a hearing aid, you have a tremendous amount of data. If you take very small little snippets of the sound in very short little time windows, you have a lot of things to look at. And speech is a very complicated acoustic signal, but we know the patterns of speech. We've learned the patterns of speech by using these techniques. And the whisper hearing system is designed to cull through all that data in real time and find the patterns that identify good speech as we know it in everyday life, and separate it out from background competition. And that's why Whisper was put together as a company, and that's why we believe that AI gives us the opportunity to move solutions that patients experience to the next level. There are two parts to the Whisper hearing system. Over on the right are the earpieces, or the hearing aids as you know them. They are two receiver in the ear style devices. For those of you who currently wear hearing aids, there's a really good chance that this is the style of device that you currently wear. The hearing aids, or the earpieces as we call them, are full of the same technologies that define the high end of hearing aids in the current marketplace. They have directional microphones, they have automatic ways of controlling feedback, they have all the things that we would normally expect out of a high-end device. But the other part of the system that's very unique, and Dr. Ann mentioned that in her intro, is that we have the Whisper Brain. And the Whisper Brain is a palm-sized device that houses the signal processing power necessary for us to apply our concepts in artificial intelligence. In order to really be able to take all that data and be able to sort through it in real time and find the things that we're looking for in that data, we need a tremendous amount of processing power. And the founders of the company did not want to feel limited by the processing power in the earpieces themselves. And so they, as a fundamental part of the system, they decided that we needed a third device, and that's called the Whisper Brain. So it's a sort of device that is unusual, definitely in our field, but it's an indication of that lack of compromise that we stood firmly on. It's like it was basically a decision. If we were going to do the very best job that we can conceive of in difficult environments, we needed extra processing power. And so we created the concept of the Whisper Brain. Importantly, it's essential that you understand that you don't always have to have the Whisper Brain on you. If you are in a situation, for example, where it's relatively easy to listen to, it's not particularly noisy, maybe you're just at home having dinner with one other person, or you're watching television, or you're at a situation that's not particularly challenging, the earpieces themselves are going to give you an excellent solution. As I said earlier, they're full of the sort of technology that defines the high end of hearing aids these days. But if you're going to be in a situation where there's a lot of challenging other sounds in the environment, that's when you want to have the Whisper Brain available. It's not the sort of thing that you have to have, you don't have to hang it around your neck, or you don't have to necessarily have it sitting on the table in front of you. You can keep it in a pocket, you can keep it in your purse. You just have to have it within about 10 feet of the hearing aids. And what ends up happening is when the going gets tough, when the system feels like it needs extra help, it'll send the sound from the earpieces to the Whisper Brain for that extra layer of processing that artificial intelligence allows us to do. As I said, you don't always have the Whisper Brain, have to have the Whisper Brain available. Some patients just turn it on and leave it on all day and keep it close by to their body, or keep it on their body in a pocket or something. Other people just pull it out when they know they're going to be in a difficult environment. And that's just a pattern that each user decides what's going to work best for them. And once they identify what seems to be useful about the brain, then they decide when they want to have it available and not. The other part that I had talked about early on was the idea of doing upgrades. And so, as I said, several times a year, 2-3 times a year minimum, we would expect to do upgrades for you. We've done that during this first year, and we have every plan to continue that going forward, where you would return to Dr. Ann's office, at least for the time being. You'd return to her office. She would plug your Whisper brain into her computer, and that would update the processing software in the hearing aids. Eventually, we hope to be able to do that without having to return to the office, but we're not quite at that point of development yet, but we're moving towards it every day. And the idea being that we can do better things in the hearing aid. We don't have to wait until we produce our next hearing aid down the line. That's the way a traditional hearing aid company has to do it. You do everything you can, and you put it in a product, and you put it in the marketplace. And if you want to do something significantly better, you have to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line when the next new high-end product is developed. And at Whisper, we just don't have to do it that way. And that's one of the very unique things about the way we approach the needs of patients like yourselves. We've received a lot of press about the innovations that we brought into the field. It's not just the technology press that's talking about it. Even general use publications like the New York Times or the AARP publications have noticed that we are really going in a different direction from a lot of people in the industry, and they've taken notice of what makes Whisper such a unique system. But it's not just about what some tech writer is going to say. It's about what real end users have to say. So on your screen right now, you see some of the testimonials that we've collected from users over this first year. Some of these people are first-time users. Some of these people are patients who have used hearing aids in the past. And you can see the sort of things that they've said. Dr. Ann talked about her good example of down to the sort of differences that you would perceive. And that becomes the way that we can really tell if this is a system that is bringing you a new level of benefit. So to wrap up my part of that, the 2 things that we believe that we have really brought into the marketplace. We have harnessed what we believe are some of the most sophisticated concepts, move the needle in terms of the sort of solutions that we can provide for individuals like yourself who are challenged by their hearing and are looking for a better solution. And
All right, Don, you're cutting in a little bit in and out, so we'll go ahead and jump into the Q&A and kick that off. But thank you for the presentation there. A number of you have asked some questions so far, so I'll go through the list of the questions that everybody has asked, and if you still have questions as we're answering these as they come up, feel free to pop them into the Q&A box, and we'll go ahead and get those answered. So let me open that up, and we will kick this off. All right. So the first question I have here, maybe Dr. Ann, this might be a good one for you to answer, is just what type of hearing loss does Whisper seem to be about right for?
That's a very good question, a very appropriate question. Right now, the technology will be fitting anyone from a mild to a severe hearing loss.
All right.
We have not been able to reach down in the profound range yet. We know that some patients are in that range. At some time in the future, we hope to be able to meet the needs of patients with profound loss. But right now, we are going, as Dr. Ann said, from mild up to the severe hearing loss range.
And I'll also jump in here and add too that the the pictures you saw in the slide presentation do show what we call the receiver in the ear that had the little dome, which a lot of you are familiar with. But we can also achieve improved gain by using custom ear molds also, which can be used instead of the traditional domes. And that will help increase more down into that severe range too.
Great. The next question I have is around cost. What is the cost of the Whisper system?
Well, I'll take that. The subscription model. Oh, good. There's a slide there now. There's nothing up front. It is $139 a month with the 3-year lease, and that includes 3 years of unlimited service and your upgrades, obviously your software upgrades. And there's also a 3-year warranty and loss protection, which that cost, if you averaged it out, does come below the cost of traditional higher end technology.
Okay. Another question kind of in line with that is, will I own my hearing aids or is this just a lease?
The current model that you see on the subscription is a lease. And so at the end of the lease, no, you do not own the instruments. There's some other options that are being considered where you could actually own the product. And that's something that is being explored and that we could discuss in a private conversation down the road.
Okay. Next question here is there a more petite size in the works for the Whisper system?
Petite's such a nice word. If you noticed on the earpieces of the Whisper system, they are on the, I would say, the larger range of typical products that you would have for somebody with a mild to moderate or moderate loss. And the reason is that we use a relatively large battery in it because of the demands of sending information from the earpieces to the brain. When, as I said, there's a lot of data there that has to be crunched. And when you have a lot of data, it takes a lot of power to actually transmit data, it turns out. There is a smaller version in the works. It's going to be down the road somewhat, but we definitely are working on trying to bring the size down to a certain degree for patients.
Great.
But if you're asking me when that's going to happen, we don't know for sure, and I wouldn't share that information because it's a little bit of a moving target in the hearing aid industry about when we actually can finish a development project to our quality to be able to bring it out into the marketplace.
Great. The next question is the cost mentioned here per pair or for each ear?
Oh, good question. I wasn't clear enough on that. Yes, the $139 is for the complete system. So that is a pair. Yes, good question.
Okay, next question. When will an Android app be available and what is gained using the app?
The system already right now will connect to Android-based phones. So if for streaming phone calls, it already will do that. It'll cover iPhones at the same time. What it doesn't do at this point in time is stream other media beyond phone calls, and we're just not prepared to do that at this point in time. But definitely for phone call use, that is already covered in the system.
Great. What is the length of battery life And is the battery a standard battery?
The battery that we use on the earpieces is a replaceable or a disposable 675 battery, which is one of the bigger batteries in the hearing aid world. And again, the reason is it takes a lot of power to be able to transmit data from the earpieces to the brain. And that typical battery life is around 5 days, 4 to 5 days, something in that range. The brain is a rechargeable battery. So that's something that you would just plug in every night to be able to upgrade the charge, to update the charge in the battery.
And I will jump in here and say that in our practice, we have a very special program that will include it. It costs a little bit of money, but it's not very expensive, and it will include unlimited batteries during the first year, and that can be renewed for year 2 and 3.
Okay. Next question here is around the hardware. When a smaller version is available, would it be possible to trade it in, or do we need to wait for the end of the lease? I also have another question that's similar around just how often does hardware need to be updated, or when do those kinds of updates happen?
We expect to have a new version of the hardware somewhere within the 3-year lifespan of products that would be sold now, for example. So we do know that we would be coming out with new hardware. Exactly what the terms around upgrading the hardware would be, mean what the cost would be, we haven't settled on exactly. But it's the sort of thing where we would encourage people to upgrade the hardware because it'll be smaller, as it's already been asked, and there'll be some other improved features if you do upgrade the hardware. And so if there's an out-of-pocket cost to that, we haven't settled exactly on what that cost would be right now. One of the things that you should know is that we see this as a software-based product, and what that means is that we focus on the idea that you want to have good hardware in order to do the job, but the real value of the product comes with the software. And so we don't want the cost of the hardware itself to stand in the way of being able to bring very good software updates to people. So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes down time to have the new hardware available, we don't want cost to be a major hurdle from keeping people to get the newer hardware, because we could bring better features even in our software by being able to have new hardware.
Okay. Next question is, what are the custom and dynamic settings supposed to do?
In some people who've been fit with hearing aids over the years are fit with hearing aids with more than one listening program, meaning that if you're in one type of situation, you might want to have one type of program, and another sort of situation you'll have a different type of program. More modern, well, as time has gone on, the relevance of having a lot of different programs has become lessened because the automatic nature of signal processing has been improved over time in such a way that the idea of having extra programs is a little less than it used to be, but there's still some value in having those. The dynamic program is our automatic program. In other words, when you put the hearing aid on, it's just in the dynamic program. The custom program allows you to have another alternative program if you choose to, or if your audiologist or hearing care professional thinks that it would be a good idea for you. The most common use of the custom program is for music listening, because the signal processing that makes sense for speech doesn't make sense for music sometimes. It's a little bit too manipulative, and it can change the quality of music, especially if you're a very serious music listener. And so if with our system, you do have the option of going to a music program. An alternative option for that custom program is what we call a noise program. But our noise program isn't all that much different than what we're already doing in the main program, because we are so focused on good speech and noise help. Sometimes people can perceive a difference and feel some benefit of that noise program, so that's fine. It gives them an extra sort of little boost. But normally, if someone's going to use a custom program, we tend to talk about it perhaps as a music program. And you can access those custom programs either through a button on the brain, or we have a user app, and so you can push a button on your phone in order to make those changes.
Great. Next question is, can insurance cover these in any capacity?
Same. A little bit earlier, Dr. Ann talked about models in which that we're working on putting together the details on how you can actually buy the system so that you would own it at the end of the lease. As part of that initiative, we are working on solutions for insurance, so that if you have an insurance policy, that you can get the coverage that your insurance policy allows. And what I would recommend is that you have a one-to-one conversation with Dr. Ann about that, because everyone's insurance policy is a little bit different. And as we put the final touches on our plans to be able to offer that as something that we can do, it would really come down to a conversation with Dr. Ann. But the quick answer is yes, for most insurances, there's probably a way to be able to get you the system so that you can get reimbursed appropriately by your insurance company.
Okay. In the app, does it allow for individual adjustment for each ear?
Yes, it does. So if you didn't turn up the volume on one side versus the other, you'll be able to do that.
Okay. I just have one more question, which is, how can I try Whisper or get started with Whisper?
Well, I'll take that question, which is a very good one. I have product in my office, and I am happy to schedule a consultation. We will obviously do an updated hearing test if that's appropriate, meaning if your hearing test needs to be within 6 months. And I will fit you, we'll discuss the product, and you'll be fit with the Whisper system. In Virginia, everyone has to have a 30-day trial before they make a decision on whether they want to proceed and keep the instrument. And so we obviously honor that 30-day trial here at the audiology offices. So all we need to do is you can reach out. There's a number on the screen that you can call that number, and we'll be more than happy to set up a consultation with me in either of our locations, Kilmarnock, Gloucester, Warsaw, whichever one is more convenient. If you would like to just discuss some things with me one-on-one, then obviously give me a call or reach out to me. Either way that works for you.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Ann. Thank you, Dawn, as well as all the participants joining us today. Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to call. We got the number on the screen there, or contact Dr. Ann. You can get set up. But we really appreciate everybody's time this morning. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.